go get what you're worth because you're a huge impact to the not only the team, but just the league in general. Like, you've made a bunch of great plays, especially coming off of last year, what you did for us.
You're tuned in to the Ross Tucker Football Podcast, guiding your gridiron journey, none other than your host, former NFL lineman, Ross Tucker.
Oh, yeah, it is. But it's not just any Ross Tucker Football Podcast. It's a sneak attack. It's a surprise Tuckheads Tuesday with Austin Ekeler from the Commanders. We were able to interview Austin Monday afternoon. Why wait until Wednesday? There aren't rules. We can go ahead and drop it on Tuesday instead of Wednesday. Let's get right into it with my guy, Austin Ekeler. It's Big Show time.
The Big Show.
Got a chance to finally meet this guy in person at the NFL's broadcast workshop. Man, I've admired his game for a long time for a lot of reasons. Admire him even more now that I got a chance to talk to him and see all the things that he's involved with. You guys are all familiar. He's having a terrific career. It's Austin Ekeler, running back for the Washington Commanders. Austin, thanks so much for coming on the show, man. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, Ross, I appreciate you, man. And for all those listening, hey, I'm trying to get on Ross's level when it comes to being in the booth, right? The skills. So, hey, got to give a shout out to Ross for helping show us the way and give us some pointers out there at the workshop. And I'm still a rookie in your game, but I'm getting started, just getting started.
It's funny because I often think of that, like when I'm out there, I'm like, why am I helping these guys? Like, these guys are coming to take my job. What am I even doing? like these guys are already rich. I was a 7-year journeyman O-lineman 15 years ago. I don't need to be helping. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, you know how it is, man. You've been in the locker room. It's helping out the young guys. You know, we're the young guys coming into, it doesn't mean we're going to take your job. Maybe that happened, but hey, you can at least give us a few pointers in here. And if we do, hopefully it's in a fair, competitive environment,
Yeah,
but
so before,
I don't think you have to worry about it.
Yeah, I actually want to start there, Austin. What is your interest in broadcasting, and what were kind of your takeaways from the workshop?
I realized that, well, I should have known this, but that helps me realize those 3 days that we were out there, that it is like full-time plus some if you really want to be elite at that. Because yeah, it's great if you have a big name and everything like that, but you have to be able to articulate your messages in precise timing. You need to have, in my opinion, a big bank of knowledge that you can refer back to, that you need to know if you're going to use it or not. And the thing is, if you understand the game well, great, but can you articulate that in a way that viewers can actually understand that as well? Because I've been playing a long time, 9 years now, and so I can tell you about the 3 techniques. I can tell you about the offensive line and the defensive structure, but as a normal viewer, that might not be relevant. So how can I slow down the game, make it entertaining at the same time? There's an entertaining factor in there. And so I could keep going on, but for the sake of time, there's a lot that goes into being really good at that job, is what I learned.
Well, you have a great chance to be really good at that because you've been really good at a lot of things. And I'm so impressed. We'll get into the stuff on the field in a couple minutes, but you got a bunch of cool things going off the field, which I love seeing. I mean, even just the fact that you went to the workshop, I think is fantastic. I love when guys are already thinking about post-football while they're playing. I always had an internship, Austin, and people are like, oh, don't you want to be all in on football? I was like, dude, putting on a suit and tie and going into an office was all the motivation I needed to continue trying to play football as long as I could. So I actually think more guys should do internships and things like that. But the first thing I want to talk about, I know you're like one of the most active players when it comes to fantasy football. You kind of really embraced it, which, by the way, is genius. And we could have a whole conversation about that. But you even have something going on where you're raising money through fantasy football that you were texting me about. Tell me a little bit more about it.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's a project that I've been doing for the past 4 years, and you can check it out at charitydraft.com. So what we've done in the past is, for my foundation, is I would donate game jerseys, experiences. Like if you're like my tier 4 and you made it to the playoffs, we fly you out to a game. You have dinner with me before the game. Like, this is like some legit like experiences that you can get in this stuff. And so I would put a fantasy league together and people would compete to like win these prizes and stuff. And all of the money would go to my foundation. My foundation builds weight rooms and stuff like that. And so it was a great fundraiser. People loved it. We have people that come back every single year. And I'm like, let me help other people do this, because this is a great way to offer something that you can't get anywhere else. People always are playing for money. That's great. But let me get experiences. Let me get game worn stuff. Let me get jerseys, signed stuff that players can offer us prizes. And kind of like My Cause, My Cleats, they can decide what charity they want the funds to go to. And so that's exactly what we've done. So with charity.com now, you can go check it out. You can see all the players that we have on there. We have some old legends too. Ray Lewis, Brian Dawkins are on there as well. So you can join their leagues. You know, Geno Smith, AJ Dillon, a bunch of other guys that you can check out and see all the different things that they're offering. All the money that they raise goes to the charity of choice, and you get to also participate in some cool fantasy football for some awesome prizes.
Wow, that's awesome. So I didn't realize, I thought this was just you doing it. I didn't realize you got a whole structure set up
Oh,
where
yeah.
you got other guys doing it, and it's charitydraft.com, right?
Correct. So charitydraft.com. Like my goal with this, Ross, is to really expand this kind of like the My Cause, My Cleats, which is great for 1 week, but it doesn't really get the fan base kind of united around that person's charity or cause. And so what I'm trying to do is provide an option that you can get fans, hundreds, thousands of fans inside of these leagues, because we break them up, max 16-person leagues, and provide a bunch of prizes for everybody. It gets people engaged the entire season. It brings, I think, the fan base and the players more together, because now you're getting an experience or some type of offering from those players as well. So I think this is a great way to kind of do what My Cause, My Cleats is trying to do, and bring money to the table for the charity, but also bring awareness and the fans involved.
That's incredible. That is so cool. And then the other thing I saw doing some research for the interview, do you have a tech company called Experience already
Yeah,
that you
so
started?
we've just officially closed Experience. So as an entrepreneur, you're going to have some hits, but you're going to have a lot more misses. And so I did have a tech software company. We were a SaaS company, experiences and stuff like that. So it's now in the closet. There's just a lot of learning lessons and something I can pull out if we ever need to talk about, being in the tech space.
You know what, Austin? I can't tell you how much I appreciate your perspective on that. I've got three small businesses, man, ups and downs.
Oh yeah.
I've learned a ton. Two of them aren't doing as well as they had been. It's a challenge, man. It
Here's what I
is.
say. Look, even if it doesn't do well, it's awesome because it adds some like substance to your life, because you're going through, you're grinding, you're trying to make it work, which allows you to push yourself. It allows you to be scrappy and try to find ways to make it work. And you're hoping for the best, but sometimes it doesn't always play out like that. So I think it's great to have that experience of just going through the ups and downs. Obviously, you want to do everything you can to make it work, but there's still learning lessons to be had and some fulfillment to be had in the times where it doesn't.
I take a lot of pride in the fact that, the one company, it's called Go Big Recruiting. I think the one guy's been with me for 17 years, the other guy's
Wow.
15 years. So like, I've got three businesses where, the people, it's how they make their living. Like,
Yeah.
my podcast business, my producer, Jack, who does a terrific job, like, this is how he provides, for his family. So it's pretty cool. I take a lot of pride in that aspect of it for sure. So that's cool. I love the perspective on that. You know, it's funny to me, you've been like a star player for a long time now. And maybe it's almost a cliche to say that you've been underrated or underappreciated. Do you feel that? I guess because in my head I'm like, dude, this guy's like catching like 100 balls a year and like running. So in my mind, you've been like a star. I don't know. I don't know if everybody else looks at it that way or looks at you that way. Do you feel like you're properly? I guess everybody always says they think they're underrated, but how do you feel like the respect that you've gotten over
I
your
feel like
career?
from an outside standpoint, it depends on if you had me on your fantasy team or not. If you had me on on your fantasy team between basically like 2019 to 2022, like you were like, this guy's the man. And I get a lot of interactions out in public where it's like, man, you crushed it for me on fantasy. So feeling underappreciated, or undervalued or anything like that. Not even a little bit. I think from where I started this journey, not even knowing if I was going to be able to be in the NFL, not even thinking about the NFL, to where I am now, I'm just so appreciative of the opportunities that I've had and been able to take advantage of those. And so for me, it's just continue to climb, continue to make as much impact on the football field as I can, and hopefully can make some people's days, entertaining them, either playing for their team or against their team. So for me, man, it's so much more than all of the media hype around players' name and stuff like that. Because I think you can do so much more in your pocket, and it just honestly, is just terrible for your mind if you're thinking about that too much.
How did you end up at Western State in Colorado? How did that happen? Obviously, you're a really talented player, really good player. Western, is that D2?
Yeah, D2. So coming out of high school, actually had a crazy senior year. Like had a lot of stats, like 2,300 rushing yards, had 43 touchdowns. So for myself, I'm like, all right, I'll probably get some type of offer from at least a D1 AA, maybe a D1. There was some D1s that were coming through. Looking at one of my teammates who now is a long snapper for the Cowboys. He played tight end at the time, and for whatever reason, well, probably because it was a small school. There's only like 500 people at my school. I was kind of seen as undersized to play running back at 5'8". I was like 186 at the time. And I wasn't the fastest. So I had great stats, but my body metrics weren't necessarily maybe what people were looking for. So I had one school that came and offered me a scholarship, and that was Western Colorado University, wanted me to play running back. And then I went and broke all their records and got myself an opportunity in the league.
That is unbelievable, man.
Yeah.
D2 football, by the way, way better than people realize. I live in Pennsylvania. The best guys that maybe are 6'3" instead of 6'5" go to the D2 schools, Bloomsburg and Kutztown and all, and they're good. I played against them. They were good.
Yeah.
Really good. They're just, and that was you, I guess. You just were an inch too short, 10 pounds too light, and
Right.
you're 40,
Right.
but you were able to overcome that.
Yeah, I think one thing I always say is like, look, the only thing they have to go by is your measurables, but they can't ever measure like your intensity, and they can't ever measure your heart that you bring into the game. And I think that was one thing that really separated me, is that I was hyper focused on making football work for me to pay for my education. And so I took my education and my football to the highest severity. Like that was it for me. That was my opportunity to get out of this kind of small town hopping that I was doing in my younger years. So I think that determination is something that's definitely continued to push me today and continue to build. Like I want to build myself and my opportunities. And I want to build, as you see, in the business space, real estate, all over the place. And so that's what I've been doing. And again, you just can't measure that. So.
And now here you are, aged 30, going into year 9. How do you feel? Like, how does your body feel? I mean, you obviously still had a pretty darn good year last year. How do you feel about, still
Yeah.
going at this age?
Yeah, I mean, I had one of my most efficient years on paper anyway for the time I was out there. I think it was like 4.8 yards a carry and like 10 yards a reception out there. So effective, yes. How do I feel? I don't feel like I'm 21. I remember being 21 in Chargers OTAs, flying, things like that. So like age is undefeated. No one's beaten age. It will always bring you down. As far as just deteriorating your body over time, especially in the athletics world. But I talked to Calais Campbell, who I think is going into year 17 or something like that. And he said, he feels the same way. We had the same conversation about the same thing. And he's like, as long as you're basically using your mind and your experience to make up for maybe some small, difference between your athletic ability from when you were younger to now, then you can get by. That's how he said he's getting by. I'm like, that makes sense, because I understand the game a lot more, and I can put myself in position to be a lot more efficient, even though I might not be as, explosive, by a tenth or 2/10 of a second.
I'm blown away by like guys like Calais, by the way. I mean, I know
Crazy.
I felt different when I was 27, 28 than I did at 23, 24.
Yeah.
Just like, and then let alone to be doing it late 30s like him
Right.
on the D line, O line, like that's just crazy. It was cool though, because last year there was like a running back resurgence. And it was all these guys, like with new teams that people are like, oh, you don't want to give running back second contracts. It's not a good idea. Well, how about Derrick Henry on his third contract? How about Saquon Barkley on whatever contract for him? How about
Right.
Josh Jacobs on his second contract? What was that like for you? Did you take pride in seeing this running back resurgence last year around the league?
Yeah, it felt good. It felt really good to see the guys continue to play at the level that they've been playing at. Like, this is nothing new. Guys are playing at a high level. The guys you just talked about have been playing at a high level for a long time. And I think people obviously see what's going on in the past, and that's what they have to compare to, because you can't predict. Well, you can predict the future, but you don't have any guarantees like you do in the past. And so people will hold on to these tendencies, and rightfully so. Like, hey, well, these people tend to do this X, Y, Z. But I think you have to kind of look into a micro kind of organism when it comes to looking at these guys. What's kind of been the history with this guy? Is he in particular showing a decline, not necessarily comparing an individual to the status quo? And so that's what I thought happened with, kind of the 2 years ago, and even, before last year, kind of this anticipation of all of these running backs, not getting paid because they're getting old or washed, or like all these different claims that were just outrageous in these scenarios for these guys. If you look at them in, a fishbowl. So I think that's what kind of drove the narrative to a place where it was like not necessarily correct, as you were comparing elite top of the position guys that have been doing it for a long time at a high level to a standard of what typically happens with running backs.
By the way, just knowing some of those guys, like it makes what you've done even more. But like Derrick Henry, dude, he looks like a DN
Oh
Saquon.
yeah.
Like it actually makes what you've done, Austin, even more impressive because I know you know this, but you don't look like
Oh
those
yeah, I get it all the
guys.
time. People are like, dang, I thought you'd be bigger. Like, nope. Don't measure me from my body size. Measure me from my impact on the field.
You mentioned the money situation with running backs. I'm curious because I know you had probably one or two situations, I think, when you were with the Chargers where there was, some contract stuff. What do you do at this age, at 30? Like, do you reach out to a guy like Terry McLaurin when he's involved in something like this? Do you talk to him, or you just think, nah, I'm not gonna bother him. He's got a representative. He knows what he's doing.
Yeah, all of these conversations get really personal for us, and so you definitely don't want to be just chatting with guys unless you're like tight like that, because a lot of sensitive information that you don't want getting leaked. And obviously the more people that know your situation and your sensitive information, the better chance there is to leak. So I'm not sure there's any guys having, I wish them the best. Absolutely. Go get what you're worth, because you're a huge impact to the not only the team, but just the league in general. Like, you've made a bunch of great plays, especially coming off of last year, what you did for us. Should be compensated, because it's a high impact player and also a high value player for the league, and for the, just the DMV area over there. So a lot of encouragement, but definitely staying out. I don't even want to be in that, because then now I have information that if someone asks me about, I actually do know. And I got to say, I can't talk. I don't know anything that's going on if I don't ask, so I'm staying on the outside.
When did you realize that Jayden Daniels was special? Was there a time like in camp or early in the season where you're like, holy crap, he's like legitimately good?
I think it slowly unfolded itself. I think week 1 versus Tampa Bay, I remember hearing defensive players talking to him after the game, just kind of praising his speed, like talking about like, dang, you are fast, man. Because he was flying around. He had like 19 rushes that game. First game, not running to throw, running to run, kind of like college. And, I think you learned, and I know you learned, just, okay, let me also keep my eyes down the field, because you can hit some of your playmakers down the field while you're running the ball as well. So seeing that was kind of like, okay, he's definitely elite speed, can get open, can make guys miss. And then really going into week 2 and 3 is when you started to see, as he started to learn the pro game a little bit more, okay, like, let me not run to run, let me run to throw. And then that progression really kind of set him up. And then you started to see, okay, a really talented young player who makes good decisions, can also create for himself. And I think it was, I forgot what week it was, week or 2 or 3, but scrambles, breaks the tackle in the backfield, launches it down to Terry for like a 70-yard, gain. Like, that was like, okay, like, this guy is real. So it didn't take very long to know that we had something special in Jayden.
The thing that's crazy about him is he plays his best when it matters the most. That's what I'm most impressed by. Like the playoff games or that fourth quarter against the Eagles, because there's guys that are really good, but they just don't play their best when it means he actually plays better when it's those situations, I feel like.
Yeah, he's definitely been clutch, and the rest of the guys have to help him out too. You have to show up in the clutch as well. So our team has been awesome in those moments. And Jayden, obviously, he's got the ball in his hands first, so he's got to keep it alive and give us a chance. And he's been able to do that several times. We've seen him make some end of the game plays. Game winner against Atlanta, basically the Eagles when you said the Bears. I'm shooting the list goes on, even in the playoffs, going
Bucks,
down, the Bucks game in the playoffs. So yeah, he's clutch. And so now it's our job to show the world, hey, it's not a fluke. This guy's real. We're going to do it again, right? Can you do it again is what people want to know. So I'm looking forward to this year.
Well, the other thing that people want to know, because they ask me every time I'm on radio down in DC, is this is like the number one question. Have the Commanders closed the gap on the Eagles? You guys brought in Laramie Tunsil, obviously Deebo Samuel. You got some of those. I like those guys from on the defensive side from the Patriots, obviously with Dietrich Wise and Jonathan Jones. You probably don't sit there, Austin, and study the Eagles depth chart or the guys they lost. But is there a sense that you guys feel like you have closed the gap on the Eagles a little bit?
Well, last year there was a gap because they won the Super Bowl between them and everybody, but I don't think there is no gap. There's no gaps right now. The gap is neutral because, and here's why I say that. Look at our team last year. Look at the Washington Commanders at the very beginning of the season. Everyone would say there's a massive gap between the Commanders and this team. Well, you look back on the season, you're like, oh, maybe there wasn't. They were actually pretty good. So this gap talk, what do you mean? We could go out there and win 0 games. We could win 17 games, so we don't know. It's a fresh, new, clean slate. And I haven't put enough time, as you know, into formulating a proper opinion on the paper roster, of what what the Eagles have over there. So I know for media, 100%, let's dive into it, talk about it. But for us as players, as you know, man, none of that means a dang, a hill of beans. For us, it's hey, this is our year. We got to put everything together so we can be the standard, and everyone has to catch up to us. That's the mindset.
Love that mindset. Love everything you got going on. Love charitydraft.com. So I guess the last question is just how do my listeners, the people watching on YouTube, how do they get involved with charitydraft.com?
Yeah, absolutely. So obviously start off by going to charitydraft.com, and you'll see right as soon as you join fantasy football leagues. We also have some basketball stuff we're looking into later, but right now fantasy football, you'll click on that and it'll show you all of the roster that we have that you can join these different players. As I mentioned, like Geno Smith, with like Justin Reed, Jonnu Smith, myself, AJ Dillon, some of the legends too, Ray Lewis, things like that. You'll see their profiles. You can click on any of the profiles and it'll show you those different leagues that they have available that you can join. Different price points to join in, but those price points are definitely tied to the type of prize that you can win in those prizes. So go check them out, different tiers. I think we have a ton of different leagues in there that you can join. I have like 4 different leagues set up with different prices and things like that. Like one of my prizes in there is tickets to the Eagles Commanders game week 15. So like there's some juicy stuff in there. Go check it out.
Nice. That is awesome.
It's good
charitydraft.com. You can also follow Austin on social media at Austin Ekeler. I'm looking at his Twitter or X handle right now. He's got the link right there for you too. It's very, very cool. I like the graphic there where you're yelling and you got the whole thing.
Yeah.
You're not messing around, man. Austin, thank you so much for coming on the show, man. It was great to meet you, and hopefully I get to do a couple Commanders games this year and can chat with you.
I'm hoping so, and looking forward to chatting again. I know we'll cross paths for sure soon in the future.
All right, let's dive into the news, but first, Jack, I got it. My Labatt Blue cooler backpack came in from this amazing Buy Beer, Get Gear rewards.labattusa.com program. It is awesome. I mean, I've needed this my whole life. a cooler backpack, and you guys can get it with this buy beer, get gear promotion from Labatt. All you have to do is buy Labatt, which you're going to do anyway. Take a photo of your receipt, upload it to rewards.labattusa.com, watch the points go up, and then get incredible merch. Buy beer, get gear, rewards.labattusa.com.
Tuck's Takes.
All right, Ross, there's only been one news item since yesterday, and that is the Steelers. They signed safety Deshaun Elliott to a 2-year extension that is with almost $10 million guaranteed, tying into Pittsburgh through 2027.
So always interesting timing for a contract like that. I always wonder what the impetus is, because usually you think they'd get it done earlier in the offseason or maybe during training camp. But, you know, he played well for them last year. I get it that the Steelers want to make sure that they have him locked up. Man, that interview with Austin was impressive. Loving that. We got Greg Cosell on Thursday. That will be on Thursday. I don't even know what division we're going to preview this week yet. I haven't decided yet, but the divisional preview series with Greg will roll on, and a fresh new Even Money podcast today with Steve Fezzik. I think we're done here. Time to finish this episode strong right after this. The weekend will be here before you know it, which is Smirnoff time. Listen, they do game days even in the off season. Anytime you're going to have fun on the weekend, as far as I'm concerned, Thursday night, Friday night, Saturday, that is a game day. There's no I in fandom, all right? Rally together with your friends and family. It's the perfect vodka for crafting delicious cocktails. In fact, you can grab a bottle of Smirnoff at your local retailer and head to Smirnoff.com to find recipes of delicious cocktails perfect for game day. They had like 5 or 6 on there I never heard of. I'll tell you about them next week. Please drink responsibly. Smirnoff number 21 vodka, distilled from grain, 40% alcohol by volume. The Smirnoff Company, New York, New York. Please not share with anyone under legal drinking age.
Thanks for tuning in to the Ross Tucker Football Podcast. Make sure to also check out Even Money, Fantasy Feast, and College Draft, all on the DraftKings Network on Samsung TV Plus, YouTube, or subscribe to the podcast on your favorite platform.
Shout out myfrontpagestory.com. If there's a better gift to give a loved one for an anniversary or a birthday, I'm not aware of it. Feel free to email me, ross@rosstucker.com, with a better gift than a front page newspaper style story about how amazing they are. Myfrontpagestory.com. Backofficescheduler.com, humanheadnyc.com, Sporticulture, Pizza Boy Brewing.